Welcome to Patuxent Nursery. My name is Joey, and we're going to learn about beginner houseplants today. Plants you may not have heard of, and plants that you may not have realized were beginner houseplants to begin with. I'm going to start with the basics. This is a spider plant, marble queen pothos, and a peace lily. Very easy to care, very resilient. These are traditionally taught as the basics. There's also variations you may not have heard of before, like peace lily Jessica. Variegated foliage, completely stunning, super easy to care for, as is her cousin. I know everyone is accustomed to seeing cacti in a nursery. Believe me, they're extremely easy, very tough to kill. This one, I'm going to angle so you can see it. This is a Euphorbia, and it does have spines like your typical cacti. Doesn't look like your regular cactus, right? But it is. Like all cacti, they require lots of sunlight and very minimal care. This is a mammillaria, and I love the way they grow. Super cool. Don't touch them. Again, lots of light. Water when they're completely dry. We water about once a week here with them. At home, it's probably going to be less because homes are cooler and they take longer to dry out at home. So these are all related to this guy. If you remember marble queen pothos from earlier, this is Epipremnum cebu blue, philodendron micans, and a self-heading philodendron known as fuzzy petiole. Philodendrons, pothos, epipremnums enjoy bright indirect light to medium indirect light. They do much better when they're allowed to stay on the moist side. They can stand drying out once in a while, but for their best growth habit and best color display, like micans, moist soil is best. So we recommend watering about every 7 to 10 days. You don't have to manage a watering schedule per se. You can also go by feeling your soil. So if you insert your index finger up to the first knuckle, down in, and you remove your finger, if there's not much soil on your finger, we recommend you go ahead and water. And you want to make sure you thoroughly saturate them when you water and allow the water to drain out. And these guys you may not have heard of or didn't realize they were perfect beginner houseplants. I'm going to start with my favorite Hoya, which is Hoya australis lisa. Super freaking cute. So I love their new growth because it's crimson red. It's so cool. And they fade out to this beautiful variegated foliage. The brighter the light they receive, or more light they receive, the more variegated their leaves are going to be. There are hundreds, at least hundreds, of different varieties of Hoyas. And we have a lot of them here. Even ones that have black foliage, which are just stunning. A Hoya is going to need bright indirect light to medium light. There are some varieties, like australis, that can handle low light conditions. It just won't flower as often. You're going to let these guys dry out almost completely between waterings. The field test is definitely the best versus a watering schedule. I like to treat them as a succulent in my home because plants in my home take longer to dry out than here at the nursery. And this guy is probably going to be the biggest upset or biggest shock to people. This is a Monstera deliciosa. Super easy. This is a baby. These guys get massive. Monstera by nature are a vining plant. They can be kept as a bush or self-header if you trim them in your own home. Their leaves can get 6 to 8 foot wide in the wild. I mean, literally, their leaves can fill rooms. In the home, you're going to see them get between 6 and 7 foot tall and about 5 to 6 foot wide. For care, if you're after the fenestrations like everyone else is, or the windows, the more light they receive, the more fenestrations they're going to produce. So bright indirect light. However, they can handle medium indirect light as well. You're going to let these guys dry out considerably between waterings. For me, at home, it's about every 10 to 14 days. And also because it's so big. And this is a ZZ plant, also known as a Zamioculcas, which I just love that name. Same care as a snake plant, super easy. This guy is in desperate need of a drink. We'll discuss that in a minute. Medium to low light. They thrive off of neglect. So if you see their little corms in the soil, those guys are actually water reservoirs for them. And they just hold on to water like a cacti would in the desert for long periods of time. And this stunning one is an Aglianema red valentine. I can't help but stare at the foliage. Red, magenta, and baby pink. Super cool, super easy, and they offer reverse variegation. Just so cool. There are lots of different Aglianemas. This is just one of many that you can find here at Patuxent Nursery. They thrive in low light. They're perfect office plants, along with your ZZ and your snake plants. You're going to want to thoroughly saturate the soil. Let them dry out a bit between waterings. Water when the top inch of soil is dry. So pretty. So snake plants make awesomely easy house plants because they require very minimal care. These are all snake plants, and they look drastically different from each other. But again, the care doesn't change. I like the golden foliage. This is La Rubia. And this little guy is probably one of my favorites. This is Sansevieria lysaniana, whalefin. This little guy turns into this behemoth. And then this little guy, Franciscia. It's a little spikier than other snake plants, so just be mindful. They can handle low to bright light, and I water mine at home when it's completely dry. For example, my whalefin gets watered about every 2 months. Granted, you should water more often, but it can survive the neglect very well without batting an eye. All right, now let's discuss that ZZ plant from earlier. It looks pretty thirsty. I prefer to water plants from the bottom, so just a water-catching reservoir dish. I place the plant in there, and I just add water. This is an excellent way to water plants because you're not watering from the top. Watering the plant from the top or getting the leaves wet is one of the worst things you can do when it comes to watering. It can lead to illness of your plant, and it could even attract pests. We're going to check back with this guy in a minute. Typically, I'll leave plants drinking from the bottom like this for 15 to 20 minutes or so, or until I see water or the soil at the top of the pot collecting moisture. Up next, we're going to discuss repotting and proper ways to do it. But first, let's talk about the gloves. These guys are Bellingham Wonder Grip, nearly naked. I like them because they're so thin and so easy to work in. So yeah, let's get to it. So these are this is the spider plant from earlier. She definitely needs a new home. This is what root bow means. When you start seeing roots like that at the bottom of the pot, it's ready to give her a new home. And this one. And then as an example, this is also a spider plant, but she's not quite ready to be repotted. She's not completely pot bound yet. Maybe in another couple weeks, because they are pretty fast growers here. And my soil of choice is Espoma's organic potting mixes. They take the guesswork out of it, and it's a safe bet for my houseplants. Namely because there's no fertilizer to shock my plant when I'm introducing it to a new space. So to explain, actually to show why you don't need to mix this with like orchid bark, Espoma's organic potting mix actually has it in it already. So it's nice and airy. It's a soilless mix, which means that it helps prevent fungus infestations or unwanted guests within your plants. First, I'm going to start by gently squeezing the pot to loosen the roots without damaging the plant. And then on the bottom, I'm just going to loosen the roots that have grown in on themselves. I don't want to lose any of these vital growing structures. And I'm just going to wiggle her gently to get her loose. And she definitely needed a new home. And then I gently just tease the roots some to loosen them. I want to encourage her to grow. I don't want her to stop. When a plant is root bound, that it's very hard for them to continue to grow. You'll see yellowing foliage or browning foliage, or even death if a plant is left like this for too long of a period of time. So I'm going to add some potting mix to the bottom of the pot. I only size up by 2 inches. So she was in a 4-inch pot, and I'm going up to a 6-inch pot. All right. I am going to reuse some of her old soil. I did not measure that very well by eye, but I want her to be even with the top of the pot or a little below. So now I'm just filling in the edges, pressing down lightly as I go. This is on Patuxent Nursery's potting table. Once you buy a pot from our nursery, you can replant right here at the potting station. And it's okay to get dirty. You know, we're going to have all the tools here for your needs to get the job done. You're going to see a marked difference in growth with her or your plant when you repot it. Typically in about a week, you're going to start seeing her kind of open up with new foliage. It's very quick with the spider plant. The final step would be to give her a thorough watering, which I normally would. However, she was just watered recently before I transplanted. So I'm going to give her a couple days before I give her a healthy drink. And by the way, he's probably not going to finish by the time we're done with this video. But, oh yeah, he's gotten heavy. Nice. Thank you for joining us today to learn all about these awesome beginner plants, as well as ones you've never heard of and ones you didn't realize were beginner plants. We look forward to seeing you soon.